then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure at KBLA Talk 1580. We got your black.
You are listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey. We're going to let this ride a little bit. This is our theme song. It's called Get It Right. Get It Right, courtesy of Common. Go ahead and download this. This is what gets me going every afternoon and afternoon drive time. I hope it gets you going too. Yes, it is Common featuring Raphael Sadiq. You can't go wrong with those brothers. And you can't go wrong with the brothers that we've been talking to so far today. Just a moment ago, we were talking to Joshua Taborn, who is with the International Firefighters, the International Association of Black Professional Firefighters. Let me just be clear, in case there are some folks out there that missed it, that we celebrate firefighters. We celebrate folks who are on the front lines of emergency response, right? And so I don't want anybody to get it twisted, because sometimes on the internet, people be, clipping things and tweeting things out of context. And we've been watching the chat for all the people that are streaming on YouTube. And I just want to echo that nobody said anything untoward about firefighters, right? This was a conversation about the experience of a Black firefighter and Black firefighters across the country, and an opportunity for us to do better. And as that song says, get it right. That's what that was about. And in that spirit, we are going to continue that work with our guest this hour. I'll talk a little bit about him in just a moment. But first things first, I'm in touch, and so you be in touch. Follow me on all the social media platforms at Dr. Nii-Quartelai. Just type in Dr. Nii-Q, DrNiiQ, and there I am. I pop right on up. If you haven't already, download the KBLA app to listen to us live or on demand, or simply tell Alexa to play KBLA Talk 1580, and subscribe to A More Perfect Union podcast, because guess what? You'll never miss an episode. You'll never miss the episode. At least that's the way it's supposed to work. You won't miss the episode. So with that, it is time for you to decide the good, bad, and ugly headlines of the day. And wow, there are a lot of headlines that are swirling today. Good news in math, bad news in reading, what you need to know about the latest report card from the nation's schools. You see, NPR is reporting that almost 5 years have passed since COVID-19 fires disrupted America's schools, and new data known as the nation's report card. It offers cause for hope and concern. So the good news is, in math, many students have made up at least some of the academic ground they lost during the pandemic. But the bad news, in both reading and math, most 4th and 8th graders in 2024, they still performed below pre-pandemic 2019 levels. And what's more, is while these achievements decline were exacerbated by the pandemic, they appear to have begun even before COVID-19, raising important questions about why students are still struggling and what educators and policymakers can do about it. This news arrives as the nation's public schools have largely spent the $190 billion in federal emergency funding that they received from Congress to help pay for, among other things, research-backed interventions, including summer school and tutoring. Previous research suggests that money did lead to modest academic gains, though this new data shows that students still have a long way to go. The National Assessment of Educational Progress, otherwise known as NAEP, it provides data on the nation's report card and is mandated by Congress. It's the largest nationally representative test of student learning. NAEP tests were first administered back in 1969. Today, the assessment of math and reading are given every 2 years to a broad sample of students in 4th and 8th grades. And so it's just a snapshot of where we're at. It seems, again, that we have an opportunity to do a little bit better. We have an opportunity to get it right. And speaking of getting it right, or in this case, getting it wrong, anti-HIV programs are in crisis as Trump aid pauses, as it sows confusion. A lot of confusion, a lot of head spinning. The Washington Post reporting that the multi-billion-dollar U.S. effort to fight the global HIV/AIDS epidemic, widely regarded as a generational bipartisan success story, spearheaded by, drumroll please, Republicans. It's long met with strong support on both sides of the aisle, but within days of taking office, the Trump administration ordered it to halt work. The unexpected move to freeze the president's emergency plan for AIDS relief, otherwise known as PEPFAR, for a 90-day review period shocked U.S. officials and global health workers who said it would lead to deaths. On the ground, the impact was immediate as the order to stop delivering U.S.-funded care went into force. And later Tuesday, Secretary of State Marco Rubio issued a waiver for life-saving humanitarian assistance. However, amid widespread confusion about how the waiver should be interpreted, there was no immediate resumption of services. Nothing has changed. That's what the executive director of the Health Gap, a group that campaigns for access to HIV/AIDS treatment, said just today. Clinics still closed. Complete disruption, right? And so, look, in every election, there are winners and losers. People come in and, when there's a new sheriff in town, don't be surprised if they do things differently. But there's a difference between doing things differently and completely disrupting the lives of people that depend on, this case, life-saving services. And so this seems to be a major fumble for the new Trump administration. To be someone who has served as president before, it's not like you're unaware of how things work. This is a major fumble. I don't know what other way to look at it. And so no wonder why the courts have halted it. No wonder why we're hearing that the Trump administration is stepping back on this freeze, on this pause, but unclear in terms of what that means. And so we're going to continue to keep our eye on this, because we understand that actions like this impact you. There are people that depend on Medicaid, Medicare, all sorts of services from the government. Head Start, Meals on Wheels, and you deserve to know if you can rely on your government to deliver on services you've been able to rely on. Moving along, the internet has reacted to Selena Gomez's emotional video. Society encourages cruelty and mocks kindness. Y'all remember seeing that? on social media? Well, USA Today is reporting that Selena Gomez was met with an outpouring of online support after the 32-year-old shared a video of her crying over President Trump's campaign promise to mass deport people living in the U.S. without legal status. In a now viral video that was reportedly posted and deleted from her Instagram stories, Gomez, through tears, said that she was so sorry and agonized over how, quotes, all of my people are getting attacked. Gomez, you see, is a third-generation Mexican-American through her father, and was especially concerned about children whose parents or families face risk of deportation. Later on Monday, Sam Parker, who's a U.S. Senate candidate who ran for the seat in Utah and lost, called to, quotes, deport the Texas-born singer. And in a different post on X shared from his personal account, Parker wrote, quote, Selena Gomez picked illegals over America because she's the third-generation descendant of Mexican illegals who received citizenship in the 87 amnesty. That's what this guy said. After Gomez shared her reaction to undocumented people in the U.S. facing deportation, she was met with criticism and support. Some people on social media suggested that given Gomez's billionaire status and influence, she could be doing more to help or support immigration advocacy groups. There are other people like Flavor Flav, founding member of the hip hop group Public Enemy, who praised Gomez for speaking her truth, writing in an X post that he was Team Selena Gomez. He added that women are always so brave in sharing their truth, and so many are quick to bully her. And so she got the support of Flavor Flav. She may have the support of many of you, but a lot of folks are saying beyond the tears, there is more that she can do. So we will stay tuned to see what more she might decide to do. When we come forward, keeping with the conversation around civil rights, I'm really delighted to welcome Justin Moore. He's a civil rights attorney and advocate for justice, blending his philosophy with his legal expertise and taking bold action and rewriting narratives. If you have heard about the Marcus Garvey posthumous pardon by former President Joe Biden, then you want to stay close, because Justin Moore was among many people over many years who had a hand in that. You got to hear this story. I saw this headline in Rolling Stone, and I knew that I had to talk to him right here on A More Perfect Union. More when we come forward. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
Lots to talk about.
They can do anything they want to us. We might not be back. I might be in jail. I might be anywhere. But when I leave, you can remember I said with the last words on my lips. I am a revolutionary.
On Saturday, February 22nd, you are invited to A Night with the Panthers, a special fundraiser dedicated to supporting Black Panther veterans who now require assistance with essential needs such as medicine, food, and housing. These Black Panther veterans championed human rights, fed the hungry, educated the community, and stood as powerful symbols of resistance and resilience. Despite their incredible sacrifices, loving and serving the people did not come with retirement plans or financial security. So, now it's our time to honor their legacy and ensure that they are cared for with the dignity they deserve. You can help by attending and supporting A Night with the Panthers, Saturday, February 22nd, 6:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. at the Project 43 Team Post Center, 6841 Crenshaw Boulevard, Los Angeles. For more information, contact Black Panther Party Breakfast at gmail.com or call 707-554-2784. That's Black Panther Party Breakfast at gmail.com or call 707-554-2784. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
We We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-550-9651. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at tra.com or call 800-550-9651. That's 800-550-9651. Tax Relief Advocates, real solutions for real people.
Lena Bloom for the Bail Project. Imagine you're stuck in a jail cell and you can't afford bail and someone offers you a way out. Just plead guilty and you can go home and kiss your kids goodnight. What do you do? What thousands have. You plead guilty whether you are or not. Cash bail makes poverty a crime. That's why the Bail Project helps those who can't afford it while fighting to end cash bail. Because freedom should be free.
Brought to you by the Ad Council.
We have no permanent friends or permanent enemies. Only permanent interests as we effort to build a more perfect union.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and really delighted to welcome to the show my friend and brother, a really great Morehouse man, an extraordinary civil rights attorney and public servant, Justin Moore. Welcome to the show, friend.
My brother, thanks for having me, man. It's good to see you too, man. I haven't seen you since Martha's Vineyard.
It's been a minute. It feels like a month of Sundays, but it's great to have you here. Listen, congratulations on really being a part of delivering on justice that had waited too long to be served. In your Substack post, you write that this year, when President Biden granted a posthumous pardon to Marcus Garvey, it wasn't just the correction of a 100-year-old injustice. It was the culmination of decades of advocacy, a moment built on the persistence of those who believed his name deserved to be cleared. I was one of those people, and I fought to make sure that this time the effort would not fall short. What attracted you, of all the work that you're doing in the civil rights arena, what attracted you to pursuing a posthumous pardon for Marcus Garvey?
Well, I mean, at bottom, I've always wanted to serve those who have been wrongfully accused, just as a general principle based on just the type of people that I represent. So when I got the opportunity to work with the Garvey family, immediately that jumped out to me. But outside of that, me being a Morehouse grad who came up through the philosophy department there, so African American and African philosophy was what I'm rooted in. Those were, Garvey's teachings were the foundational elements for my intellectual thought and curiosity. So as I became a man at Morehouse, Marcus Garvey and his teachings actually ushered me into manhood. So when I got the opportunity to work with the family, I didn't blink. I immediately wanted to jump on board and see if I could help. And thank God it turned out to be something where I could actually help substantively with this pardon.
And talk to us about what was it like to work with the Garvey family? I mean, again, this is been a long walk to justice, 100 years in the making. How did you meet them, and what inspired them to trust you enough to deliver on this grave injustice to Marcus Garvey?
Well, so when I met the family, this was after I actually went to the White House when Trump was still in office to push for clemency for one Larry Hoover, who was based in Chicago. There might be some folks listening to the program who knows who Larry Hoover is. And that was a very public meeting that we had. And, the family reached out through a close friend of mine at Morehouse, and they wanted me to come on board to assist with the pardon, but also assist with this newfound Garvey Institute that his son has created. So believe it or not, Marcus Garvey still has a living son who's 92 years old. Very vital, very full of life. You actually should get him on the show. We can make that happen if you're interested.
Yes,
Uh,
please.
but yeah, so they reached out, and like I said, I mean, Garvey has been integral in framing, at least intellectually, who I am as a civil rights attorney and social justice advocate. So yeah, when he reached out, like I said, I didn't blink. I immediately wanted to find ways that I could pitch in and help out.
I mean, I think that's extraordinary. And so, cut to your meeting with President Joe Biden. How did that happen? And what was it like to make the case to the president and his team about delivering on this pardon to Marcus Garvey?
So I want to juxtapose this meeting against the meeting that I had with the current president during his first term, because I think it's important how we frame it. Because pardon powers in this country, I mean, they're pretty nebulous. It's hard to pin down what they actually are, because it's a power that one person has to grant clemency or mercy to individuals on an arbitrary basis. Um, you know, the Biden meeting was very low key. The Trump meeting I had was extremely, it was a lot of fanfare, or it was highly scrutinized due to the public nature of it. And if you're not familiar with the meeting, it was the meeting with Kanye West, and I think we all remember that being a clown show or a circus. uh, so the way the Biden administration reached out, they actually reached out through a donor to my campaign. I ran for Congress a year ago, and he was, a strident supporter of mine, and he knew that I had been working in the civil rights space for my entire professional career, and he also knew that I'd been working on pardons and clemencies for other clients. So he was tabbed to assist the Bidens with going through, this long list of clemencies and pardons that we saw, which numbered in the thousands ultimately. And they immediately called and they wanted advice on the nonviolent drug offenders, which I provided, and we actually got a good number of folks out if we saw the numbers. But I couldn't let that opportunity slide by without me mentioning, Marcus Garvey and the need for him being posthumously pardoned. And when I mentioned it to the president, um, you know, I think he had some understanding of who Mr. Garvey was, but I don't think he understood the gravity of what a pardon would be, or the gravity of what Marcus Garvey meant to Black thought and Black history. So, if not for nothing, I think I put it on his radar, and I was able to submit to him some very important and pertinent legal documents to where he could get a good understanding of the scope of why he needed to be pardoned. Primarily, it was the J. Edgar Hoover malicious prosecution and unfair investigation that the Biden administration took note of.
And so President Biden, basically, you put this on his radar. Was he Did he immediately seem receptive? What about that exchange made you feel like there was an opening? Like there
Yeah.
was a new possibility afoot?
Well, he seemed immediately receptive. And when he asked for more information, so for me to submit over legal documents, and there was a continued conversation through his liaisons, one of which being the gentleman that connected us. So the fact that there were multiple touch points and they continued to reach out, and me juxtaposing this to my time spent with trying to advise the Trump administration on the First Step Act and clemencies for those who fell under that rubric. It was a different approach. It was more serious. So that gave me immediate hope, or at least optimism, to think that they were taking this quite seriously. But also, I mean, it just wasn't about my outreach. I mean, there were a host of voices that pitched in. I mean, multiple members of the CBC. Condoleezza Rice wrote a letter as well. It was just an outpouring of support that really hit a crescendo. I mean, the Garveys have been fighting for this since 1987. Charles Rangel, who was a member of Congress then, he led the initial push. Vernon Jordan led another push when President Obama was still in office. I think the fact that Biden did it, it wasn't just the efforts of the folks that are pushing for it now, but it was years of support that I think culminated in this moment. So I think after I presented it to Biden and the folks that were working on pardons with him, they saw the immense amount of support that I brought to the table that also followed up after the conversation. And I mean, the response that we got from the admin throughout that process, at times we were kind of concerned because he did wait until the last day of his administration to make it happen. But ultimately, it did seem as if that they were very receptive throughout and always welcoming new information if we want to send it over.
When we come forward, I want to dig into what lessons your journey towards delivering on this posthumous pardon of Marcus Garvey, what lessons we can all glean from this journey to justice. The fact that folks like Condoleezza Rice, members of the Congressional Black Caucus, folks like the late Vernon Jordan, Charlie Rangel, so many folks who've been on the front lines fighting for justice for a long time, inside and outside of boardrooms and inside and outside of public office. The fact that this took a lot of different people pushing to get this over the finish line in the final days of the Biden-Harris administration. When we come forward, Justin's going to tell us a little bit more about what we can all glean from this as we do our part in the days ahead. You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More with civil rights attorney Justin Moore when we come forward.
Looking to be engaged, enlightened, and empowered about issues related to national politics, elections, identity, culture change, and social justice. You tuned into the right place. A More Perfect Union continues when we come forward.
I'm Amber Payton with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. The Federal Reserve is leaving interest rates unchanged. It comes after the Fed cut rates 3 times last year. It also marks the first policy decision during President Trump's second term. Trump has said recently he would like to see the central bank lower rates. As federal rates continue, Black St. Louis Mayor Tashara Jones is reaffirming the city's support for immigrants. However, Trump's orders have blocked many from settling there, per the Post-Dispatch. Lakeville Public Schools in Minnesota will remove 2 DEI posters referencing Black Lives Matter after a 4-3 vote. A lawsuit led to their removal following a heated school board meeting. Supporters say the posters promoted inclusivity, while opponents called them politically charged. And Louisiana lawmakers are urging the NFL to ensure a family-friendly big game halftime show, citing past concerns over lyrics and performances. Kendrick Lamar will headline on February 9th as Kansas City faces Philadelphia. I'm Amber Payton on the Black Information Network, your home for Black News First.
A crash in Long Beach on the 710 northbound before the 91 freeway. They're clearing it out of the right lane, but overall slowing from south end of the 710, leaving Pico Avenue. Slowing right now, East LA on the 60 eastbound before Downey Road due to a crash that's out of lanes. Delays pushing back away from Whittier Boulevard. South LA, a wreck on the 110 northbound before Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. They're clearing it out of the left lane. Delays leaving the 105. And it's very tough right now along the 10 freeway eastbound out of Pomona. Delays and stretches all the way into Redlands.
If you were self-employed or a 1099 contractor and missed work because you had COVID or cared for an immediate family member with COVID in 2021, you may qualify for up to $32,000 for the Sick and Family Leave Credit. Visit taxcreditnow.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers will be without Anthony Davis for at least a week. An MRI exam Wednesday morning revealed AD has a strained abdominal muscle. He suffered the injury in the first quarter of the Lakers' loss Tuesday night at Philadelphia. AD will miss the next 3 games. During the Lakers' recent 4-game winning streak, AD was averaging 32 points, 15 rebounds, and shooting 58%. More troubling news for the Lakers. Head coach J.J. Redick drew criticism for playing Bronny James Tuesday night in Philly. Bronny's performance reinforced opinions that LeBron's son is not yet ready for NBA competition. In 15 minutes against the Sixers, Bronny missed all 5 of his shots and committed 3 turnovers. In 13 games with the Lakers, Bronny is shooting 1 for 16 and 0 for 7 on 3-pointers. The Lakers need to keep Bronny in the G League the rest of the season. He will not get any better sitting on the Lakers bench. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader. KBLA Talk 1580. Follow the leader.
If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Got your black. Keep following the leader. Oh my God. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you that we keep us safe. The Live Your Life organization mentors young women, helping them break negative mindsets and see beyond their surroundings. Through career exposure and hands-on training, they're encouraged to think big, stay focused, and make positive choices. Founded by Nikisha Mama Boo Smith, who transformed her life to become a community leader. Live Your Life is changing lives, but they need your help. They're raising funds to keep their new building open and expand their program. Your donations will support food, clothes, hygiene products, and holiday giveaways. Visit liveyourlife32.com. That's LIVEYOLIFE32.com to help today. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Ray Richardson, your sports connection here at KBLA Talk 1580. Join me and my co-host Neil Scarborough every Saturday night at 7 for Out of Bounds, the show that brings some flavor to the world of sports for 60 minutes. We take you beyond the scores and press conferences. We give you our point of view, the way Black folks see what's going down. You can join the conversation and give us your analysis at 1-800-920-1580. Out of Bounds every Saturday night at 7 on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
You like your style, though.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hit me.
National news with consequence, informed opinion,
And analysis beyond the headlines.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I have been looking forward to this conversation with Justin Moore all day. And just a little personal anecdote, I was sharing this with Andy, our sound engineer. When I was growing up, my dad's big dream for me was to be a lawyer. He always wanted me to be a lawyer, wanted me to go to law school. And just in talking to Justin and talking to other friends who are attorneys, particularly civil rights attorneys, now at 40 years old, I kind of understand what my dad was thinking. I think if I were to go that route, I think he would have imagined me being a civil rights attorney like you and delivering on justice to the people as you have. And so I'm sure from the heavens, my dad's giving you a hat tip in terms of the work that you've done. But talk to us about what is it like as a civil rights attorney to take on a case like this, take on the cause of delivering a posthumous pardon to Marcus Garvey? Does it feel like the like you've hit the civil rights lottery?
Man, I mean, honestly, I haven't had a chance to really think about it and revel in it because the immediate next day, Trump was inaugurated, and we've been pressed with these executive orders at almost every stop. So, for me, yeah, I mean, it feels great. It feels like it's going to be an accomplishment that ultimately, when I do pass and leave this earth, I feel like someone's going to mention it at my funeral. Um, and honestly, it's a sense of pride that I have just knowing that Marcus Garvey has been so influential on my life. To be able to be a footnote, if possible, in the story of Mr. Garvey, and rewrite his narrative, because he's been criminalized stridently throughout the years. It does feel good. So I don't know if it feels like I hit the civil rights lottery, but it does feel like I did some good work. And I do want to say again that, I mean, this is the work of a multitude of different, a whole different wide array of people. So it's not just me. The law firm of Aiken Gump, they supported with very incredible legal research. Howard Law School and their civil rights division, they assisted as well. I was just the conduit to be able to present this to the president at the time, and I guess right time, right moment. But I do think that this is a career-defining achievement for sure. But what's most important is, as I just mentioned, this rewrites Mr. Garvey's narrative. This was a man who had a 6 million person plus movement that spanned over 40 states and 40 countries in 1919, right? This was before social media, and hell, I think, even talking on the phone probably was a pretty hard task at that moment. No email. I mean, so this man was a mass communicator who was able to convey a message that Black folks really liked and supported. And this government, you know, essentially, they put a huge stain on his legacy, and they killed a movement. And you mentioned before you went to the break, what does this moment teach us about Black unity currently and how we can achieve monumental things? But juxtaposing this on how he was actively or actually convicted. I mean, you had Black folks in the movement and the United States government conspiring to take this man out of the country. Folks from the NAACP and other Black groups were really pissed off that he was able to organize at such a incredible level. And they put forth these trumped up charges. They suborned perjury against him. They had a judge who was an NAACP member who actively thought that Mr. Garvey was kind of clogging up the activist donor network, preventing the NAACP from getting donations. So yeah, I think his image then and what he stood for and how he was maliciously prosecuted, that's something that we need to learn from. But we also need to learn from the unity that we were actually able to congeal to get him exonerated or pardoned. And I think that is the most important part here. If we stick together and we don't allow these forces to divide us, we can achieve incredible things. And we're going to need that energy over these next 4 years. We can't be divided. And hopefully this is a symbol of what that level of unity can achieve moving forward. So did I win the civil rights lottery? Perhaps, but I think our community hit the civil rights lottery as well, because this should be a symbol for unity moving forward.
So speaking of moving forward, in your Substack entitled "The Pardon That History Demanded: How Persistence, Advocacy, and My Phone Call with Joe Biden Led to Marcus Garvey's Exoneration," in that piece, you wrote something that really caught my attention. You said, quote, "I didn't have a personal relationship with President Biden. In fact, I've been critical of him before, of his authorship of the 1994 crime bill, which devastated Black communities, and his support for military actions that disproportionately harm Palestinian civilians. My criticism was rooted in principle, not partisanship. And I never shied away from holding those in power accountable. But advocacy isn't about agreement. It's about persuasion. When the opportunity came to speak on behalf of Garvey, my focus wasn't on Biden's past. It was on what he could do now. When I read that, I thought, wow, what a searing reminder for so many of our leaders, learners, and listeners. every show I say to folks, do what you can from where you are with what you have. And this story would not have been possible if you hadn't adhered to that organizing principle. If so many of the other folks who've had a hand in this, many of which you've mentioned, if they hadn't adhered to that organizing principle, tell us, what is it that you really want our audience to know about working now in an atmosphere where you have people at the helm of power that may not share the same values as us? We may not have voted for them. They may have supported things that have had and are having a devastating effect on our communities. Talk to us, about how we might navigate this moment in time, given the way in which you navigated that relationship with President Biden to deliver on this posthumous pardon for Marcus Garvey.
Oh boy, I mean, I have been blessed to have a vantage point, or at least a composite comparative narrative in regards to how Biden was in office versus Trump. So me being able to, interface and interact with President Trump during his first term versus the phone call with Biden, like I mentioned earlier, I mean, vastly different at bottom. And, I want to kind of unpack your question as well. We can't compare the two. They're two totally different people. Biden is a very serious guy, regardless of whatever his foibles are. You're talking to someone that's extremely sincere. President Trump doesn't have a sincere bone in his body. Now, that doesn't mean you can't, strike a deal with him or negotiate with him. I mean, he's a deal maker at heart. But nevertheless, you never know what the lines are. So it's going to be it's going to be tough whenever you come across him when you have something that you're trying to advance. And also now you've seen him having, trying to strike an extremely aggressive chord with these executive orders. I don't know how we can interact with the Trump presidency. This is someone who's interacted with the last two presidential administrations. I'm waiting to see myself. What are the lines of communication that might reveal themselves? As of right now, it seems as if he's only interested in pleasing his billionaire cronies, which is vastly different from how he approached his first term, which was pretty much saddled with white supremacists. And you might say, what's the difference? To me, I think at least during his first term, he was trying to at least shadow or cover up some of the strident racism that he had within him through these obsequious types of symbolic gestures. And at least from that standpoint, you could, to a certain degree, try to negotiate with him, horizontally. But now he has a very vertical approach, which is top down. If you don't have this amount of money, you're not going to be allowed in to at least talk to me about some of the things that you want to advance. So I don't, access to the White House, it seems, it's changed drastically. Even this conversation around criminal justice reform, back during his first term, he touted criminal justice reform as one of his things that connected him to the Black community. You don't even hear him talking about it now. So I don't know. Short answer. I think it's a wait and see thing. We have some folks that are engaging with him now. I don't know the depths of that engagement, but I'm very anxious to see in the next few weeks what are the angles of attack that we could take. But I'm not trying to strike a fatalist tone, but I don't feel confident at the moment.
I want to pick up on that idea of you not feeling confident in this moment. In our remaining moment with you, Justin, I wanted to just sort of find the center. I think a lot of us have been flooded with news and headlines that suggest that we are powerless, that we have to endure whatever it is, not a president, but a king wants this country to do. When we come forward, I want to give you a chance to share a little bit of the quiet part out loud on your heart in terms of how we might navigate these very choppy waters, these very turbulent times, given the onslaught of news and headlines that are being thrown our way. We want to learn, how do you do it? How do you do it, Mr. Civil Rights Attorney? When we come forward, more with Justin Moore. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
The new year brings new health goals and wealth goals. Protecting your identity is an important step. Your info is in endless places that could expose you to identity theft, leading to lost funds. LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Resolve to make identity health and wealth part of your New Year's goals with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS. Visit lifelock.com. Terms apply.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer? Can we sleep cooler? Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. And now save 50% on the new Sleep Number limited edition smart bed. Limited time. Exclusively at a Sleep Number store near you. Learn more at sleepnumber.com.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million+ products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
You say you never give in to a meltdown and never fill your feed with kid photos. You say you'd never put a pacifier in your mouth to clean it and never let them run wild through the grocery store. So when you say you'd never let them get into a car without you there, no, it can happen. 1 in 4 hot car deaths happen when a kid gets into an unlocked car and can't get out. Never happens. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Imagine a Los Angeles where everyone can thrive, where communities have access to the resources they need to succeed. That's the vision of Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. They're dedicated to improving life in LA County by providing educational support, employment assistance, and spaces for community engagement. By 2050, they want LA to be the best place to connect, create, learn, live, and play. They're working toward an education system that's well-resourced and culturally responsive, becoming a hub for artists and innovators, and making sure everyone has access to healthy food, quality healthcare, and safe housing. It's about building a future where we all have the chance to succeed. We invite you to learn more about their mission and get involved with Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Notable journalists, industry leaders, lawmakers, change makers, tastemakers, and you, working to build a more perfect union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey. He's Justin Moore. He is a civil rights attorney and has played an incredible role in a chorus of people. A chorus of leaders on the front lines over the course of many years who have done their best to right a wrong, to right an incredible injustice, which has resulted in a posthumous pardon to Marcus Garvey. That doesn't happen by itself. It happens because of some of the brave and courageous people among us. And some of the brave and courageous among us happen to be civil rights attorneys who, at the moment, are feeling the same onslaught that we're all feeling. I mean, there are so many headlines, so many news reports, so much breaking news every single day. And so what better person to ask about navigating these turbulent times, navigating all of that than a civil rights attorney, very well respected one like Justin Moore. And so, Justin, how do you do it? How do you prioritize matters that where you can actually make a difference? I'm a fan of the serenity prayer. That helps me to get through each and every day. That's a part of my practice. What's a part of yours?
I mean, to be quite honest, I don't have a daily practice. I probably should. But you know, I think what I've been able to do over the course of my career is to surround myself with folks who care about the things that I care about. So, surrounding myself in community, I think that's been helpful. So whatever I'm lagging at, or whatever I'm lacking at, the folks that are working with me or around me, they're able to uplift me and keep me going. And I think that's the sage advice I can give to anybody that is wanting to be a civil rights attorney or that's currently mired in the fight currently. um, the greatest act of defiance that we could display is to organize, to be rooted in community, because we're being asked to be isolated with with the tech that we're being immersed with every day, and with a lot of Black folks flirting with rugged individualism, which we saw was the prevailing notion from the Trump campaign that a lot of people started to flirt with. We have to avoid that, because being rooted in community and community organizing at a high level, that is going to be the thing that gets us through these next 4 years. You see these executive orders coming out just at breakneck speed. You see these tech billionaires, increasing their support of the Trump administration in hopes of them increasing their largesse. You see generative AI becoming a thing, which is encouraging folks to be more inward. And unfortunately, you see a lot of Black folks saying after the election that they're tired and they want to sit out the next 4 years. That can't be the response to this. We have to actually, double down on our efforts to make sure that Trump can't continue pushing these very dangerous executive orders down our throats. We saw today that he issued a retraction to his executive order regarding federal spending. I don't know if that was due to the outcry from folks who had extreme displeasure, or it could have been just due to the fact that he has very shoddy and shabby lawyers in his White House who can't write an executive order without ChatGPT. I don't know. It could be a confluence of both. Uh, but nevertheless, we have to stick together, and we can't say that we're too tired to fight on the front line. So for me, I don't have any daily practices in regards to keeping me energized to be in the movement. I guess me just being, just pretty damn afraid of what's going to happen if I don't stay energized. That maybe that's the thing that keeps me going. But whatever it is that gets you out of bed and gets you encouraged to continue fighting, keep on doing that, because we're going to need that type of energy moving forward. Now ain't the time to go to sleep.
That's right. That's right. And I've often said on this show, and among anybody that will listen, that I believe that the way that we get to the other side of whatever this is in community.
Mm-hmm.
And so, to just put a finer point on what you just shared, I just think one of the greatest anecdotes to isolation, the greatest anecdotes to the idea of rugged individualism is community. And I know that there are a lot of legal defense funds that exist, that have operated for some time now, whether we're talking about MALDEF, the Mexican American Legal Defense Fund, or the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, Lambda Legal Defense Fund. Talk to us in about a minute about why supporting these legal defense funds should be a part of perhaps our giving plan, if we have it to give in some way, shape, or form this year. Why should we consider supporting bar associations and legal defense funds?
Well, the only thing standing in between our freedoms and the White House running amok is the Constitution, and the only people that can uphold the Constitution are lawyers. So, with that being the idea, and it's more than just a concept or just a theory, it's actually in practice what needs to be buoyed by folks in the community. We need to provide these lawyers who care about our constitutional rights. We need to provide them with the resources to battle against these very unconstitutional acts by the White House. And you see the White House, they're supported by billionaires in extremely high tech resources. So we need to saddle our legal defense funds with these same amount of resources, just so we can hold the line until we can get another election to vote in a new administration that cares about our constitutional rights. So now more than ever, give to Lambda, NAACP Legal Defense Fund, whatever your favorite defense fund is. It's time to give to them, because that's where these resources need to go, and these are going to be the folks that are going to be able to toe the line for our constitutional freedoms.
Our thanks to Justin Moore, civil rights attorney, advocate for justice. He is not stepping away or standing down from delivering bold action to challenge systems and rewrite narratives. We appreciate you for all that you do. And what a great example of a Morehouse man. We appreciate you.
Hey, well, they only make good ones. So,
please come back again soon.
Thank you, my brother.
And we're going to have to leave it there. My thanks to all of our guests today, and to The Village helps us produce a more perfect union each and every day. Our executive producer, Tavis Smiley, our sound engineer, Andy, our show producers, Faraji and Kim, and of course, each and every one of you, all of our leaders, learners, and listeners. We hope you've enjoyed what we've curated today. Remember, don't panic, organize. Do what you can from where you are with what you have. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and you've been listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.